Justin Fields is reaching an agreement to become the Jets' new QB1. So let's talk Fields and the rest of free agency with New York Post Jets beat writer Brian Costello. Kaz, thanks for hopping on, man. Let's get straight into this breaking news. 2 years, 40 mil with 30 million guaranteed. That's not a long-term deal there, Kaz. So would you call this more of a prove-it type deal, or from what you've heard, do they see him and value him as the QB1 of the future?
No, Brandon, this is let's see what you've got in 2025 and we'll go from there. If you look at it, the 2-year contract kind of gives them flexibility in terms of if he hits this year, right? If they get the reclamation project that the Vikings got with Sam Darnold or the Buccaneers got with Baker Mayfield or the Seahawks got with Geno Smith, right? These are guys that flamed out they're early in their careers and then had a resurgence with somebody else. That's what the Jets are hoping for. If they have that, they have him locked up then for 2026, and they can go from there about trying to sign him longer if they wanted to. But if he doesn't play well in 2025, I'm going to imagine, I haven't seen the contract details yet, Brandon, but I'm going to imagine it's not that hard for them to get out of this deal in 2026 and move on to the next guy. I also don't think this precludes them from drafting someone, Brandon. I don't see them drafting someone at 7. But I think, they could still draft someone day 2, day 3 of the draft to bring along with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields.
He reunites now with his former Ohio State wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. We knew all about the reports that Garrett Wilson was unhappy with the way things were going. I mean, do you look at this as a move that was made to kind of keep Garrett Wilson happy and to keep him long term and not have to trade him?
No, I think that's a bonus, Brandon. I really don't think the Jets would make a move at quarterback solely to make Garrett Wilson happy. That's really not a good way to operate, But so I think they believe that Fields, this is a lottery ticket, Brandon. That's how I view this. He's a lottery ticket for the Jets. It's worth, taking a chance on it. The odds are it's not going to work. Okay. He's 14 and 30 as an NFL quarterback. He struggled pretty mightily in Chicago, had some success last year early in the year in Pittsburgh, and then they went to Russell Wilson. So what did they know? So odds are this isn't going to work, Brandon, right? But it's worth a shot. And when you look at all the options that are out there right now and where the Jets are in terms of a new coach, a new GM, they have some pieces. This made sense. So I think the Garrett Wilson part of this is a bonus. It should make Garrett happy to be reunited with his Ohio State teammate. But look, Brandon, if they don't win games, Garrett Wilson's going to go right back to being unhappy. I mean, that is the root of Garrett Wilson's unhappiness is the losing with the Jets. And so they got to win this year to make Garrett happy. The only other way to make him happy, Brandon, is with the checkbook, right? And we just saw that with Myles Garrett. Money kind of solves things. So if they do want to do an extension with Garrett, yeah, then I think he'd be even happier.
All right, so since you feel like the odds are against Justin Fields, who would you say has more pressure to make this thing work? New offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand or Justin Fields?
Oh, they're both under the gun here. I would say there's a little more pressure on Engstrand, though, Brandon, just because what I said. Feel like Justin Fields, if he doesn't work out this year, they'll move on. And, I don't know what the future would hold for him, but maybe he goes somewhere else as a backup. Engstrand has taken a pretty tough job. The Jets offensive coordinator is a tough job, Brandon. There hasn't been anyone who's held that job for more than 2 years since Brian Schottenheimer, who was fired after the 2011 season. So that job does not have great job security, and I think it's the pressures on Engstrand now to develop a system that takes advantage of what Justin Fields does. And with his legs, RPOs, not exactly what they did in Detroit with Jared Goff, Brandon. So this is going to be a departure for Engstrand, I think, from what he was doing in Detroit with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator there. So I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to make this work as a first-time offensive coordinator.
We call the NFL a revolving door league. The Jets offense coordinator position is a revolving door position. But now that they kind of have their quarterback one for the now, what's next or who's next? What do they need to add to the roster?
Yeah, I mean, first they got to get some receivers for him. We mentioned Garrett Wilson, but it drops off after that. Obviously they moved on from Devontae Adams. They're expected to move on from Alan Lazard. They still haven't done that yet, so maybe something's brewing there that there's a way Lazard stays on the roster, but I don't see that. But it's kind of curious. He hasn't been cut yet. But I think they have to make a receiver. Morgan Moses went to the Patriots today, so they have a hole at right tackle. Tight end is an area of need, and then on defense, defensive tackle, cornerback, and safety are all areas. So they still have work to do, Brandon. I mean, what I would caution every year is it always feels like there's all these deals on day one of free agency. Most of the work gets done after this crazy wave of free agency. It's just the big name players come off the board quickly. So I think, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have a lot of work to do still, but there's plenty of time to do it.
You mentioned a hole at the corner position. DJ Reed signed with the Lions.
Mhm.
J.C. Horn got a huge extension by the
Yeah.
Panthers. That made him the highest paid corner in league history. Sauce Gardner is up for a payday pretty soon. Do you think that the Jets should sign him to an extension now?
I do think they should get something done before the season, Brandon, whether that's, it might be in the summer, might be during training camp, might be before camp. When you say now, I know a lot of teams did extensions for their players recently, so I don't think it's, right now, but I do think before the season would be smart. You kind of look at these teams now that are doing this early, and the Eagles are sort of the model that they sign players early, and you get ahead of the market, right? Because when you like, I didn't see J.C. Horn. I really wasn't thinking about him resetting the market, but he did. Stingley is out there in the same class as Sauce. He's going to be looking for a payday. So if you pay him, you pay Sauce now, uh, chances are you're getting a better deal than you are next year. And I think, next year would be the year they'd have to do something when he's entering his fifth year in the league, because he'd be a free agent in 2027, if my math is correct. So, yeah, I do think they should get something done with him and with Garrett Wilson, to be honest with you, too, Brandon. I think I would, if I'm Darren Muji, I'm trying to get both those guys extended before the season.
Money talks. Brian Costello, thanks for hopping on with us.
No problem. Thanks, Brian.